Creatives are adaptable, resilient, passionate, and great problem solvers, just like what an entrepreneur should be. And yet artists and business people hardly get recognized as one and the same. Well, welcome to Bridging That Gap. Hello, fellow creatives, and welcome to the podcast Artist Takes on Business School. I'm your host, Mayada Maya, a self-employed life model who, upon graduating from her BA in Fine Arts, lost the love, admiration, and respect for the art world, but not for artists. This 2-year-long podcast will be tailored to my fellow creatives who want to build a sustainable and financially rewarding creative career without selling out. Get the behind the scenes, the insights, the knowledge, and the encouragement from people who know exactly how you feel. And of course, from entrepreneurial experts alike. So when COVID hit, I was in my second year of university. I was studying fine art in London, and naturally, everything became more complicated, kind of more difficult to navigate, and I found myself falling behind my cohort because I hadn't really invested much time within social media to kind of learn how to, optimize posts, how to use it to market myself and my creative work. I was a teenager that didn't really vibe with the whole concept of social media. So when everything went online, so did our practical exhibition opportunities, all of our assignments. We were basically being told to do like Instagram takeovers for like our university Instagram pages, and that would be how we would, present our work to the world, as if they had like such a massive following to begin with. And naturally, the entire staff was, they were not prepared for this shift in the curriculum. A lot of them were undertrained with the tech side of it, and not even the tech, but like how to make the video more engaging, because we're having to essentially show up and just watch a screen for hours during lectures, which naturally is already a bit of a boring task, especially when you're dealing with creatives that like to work with their hands and be in their studio and spend a lot of time just making. With that, right, came a lot of loopholes. There was a lot of flexibility for us as students to take on less of the work, because there was more focus on like the mental health side of things. Me and many, if not most of the students basically started to use that as a way to get out of classes and assignments, to the point where I ended up getting an email from like not enrollment, but the staff, the admin staff, telling me that my attendance record was really low, and if I didn't start showing up to classes, my visa would be would become void, and I'd have to leave. So naturally, that's what kind of kept me going and showing up. But I did realize that by being a bit rebellious in that way, and but I did realize that by being a bit rebellious in that way, I was able to form very honest relationships with some of my tutors, because I would explain to them, like, look, this feels like a waste of time. These assignments, I don't think they're doing what needs to be done. I don't know. I've just always been a bit blunt with things, especially when it feels like it's not right to be doing. And I started to, get feedback on that from the tutors saying, yeah, I agree, but sometimes it was just a requirement for the coursework itself, whereas other times they would just kind of take me off the hook. Eventually, the more time passed with this same kind of curriculum, I realized that there was a big superficial side to the art market and the art world in general, where it was almost more about making something that was weird or different or that would stand out, as opposed to, creating from an egoless and maybe even naive place, which is really is really necessary, especially when we're just starting out in this path. Because we don't want to get so caught up with, let's say, the adult side of a new project too quickly, because it can really stagnate us. We'll start thinking about all of the things we need to be doing to be optimizing something. And I find that, by doing that, we can get really limited in how much we make. That by the time graduation came, I felt super unprepared for life in general. I wasn't sure how to navigate the whole situation, what it meant to get a job. And I felt like I didn't have enough tools in my belt to offer to employers. I ended up becoming self-employed as a life model. And that was how I was able to bridge the gap between me not having a creative practice and wanting to have a creative practice, but not being able to engage or re-engage my own personal project, per se. I found that with life modeling, I was still performing. I was still, making art in that way, that very theatrical, very performative way, which is what I love to do. And it seemed like that's been the most sustainable that's been the most sustainable career that I've maintained. I think because one, I'm kind of my own boss. I can kind of do what I want, and my uniqueness, my adaptability, versatility, just my strange poses and ability to hold difficult things or difficult poses for a while. All these things were and are very beneficial for, the students that are in the class. It keeps the class interesting, which I find, having known a few life models and gone to life drawing classes myself as the artist or the painter or whatever it is, I notice how there's a lot of very typical life model poses. They're not very engaging or active. And I wanted to be different, whilst also kind of just being myself. But yeah, because when I graduated, it didn't occur to me that that was a creative practice that I was maintaining. It's only now in retrospect that I realize, oh, I don't actually feel that, I don't feel as much shame about not maintaining a creative practice like I used to. When I would go through a lull of not making any artwork, or when I didn't have a project that I was working on, or keeping a sketchbook, it was almost like I was ashamed of that for myself. Whereas now I think, because I have that outlet, or I've had that outlet for a few years, it's been okay. I haven't really noticed that big of a dip in my almost self-hatred for not having a practice, which I think has allowed me to shift my thinking around what it is to be a creative. And by sharing my story with certain people, I've actually gotten feedback about how it seems like normal. It's completely normal for creatives and artists throughout the decades, the centuries, to have periods of high productivity and low productivity. And we should really just learn to accept that and kind of go with the flow. And more so focus on like the reason why you're not doing something or why you don't want to do something. Because if your reason for not doing something is based on, which a lot of the times it is, but if it's based on fear, then that's something that you need to be addressing for yourself, right? I mean, we don't want to stop ourselves from doing something because we're scared. That will just keep us in our little comfort zone. It won't get us to where we might actually want to go, which will most definitely be outside of our comfort zone. And it takes some practice with kind of oiling up the gears a little bit to, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And it took me those 2 years after graduating to really realize that. My life doesn't have to be around one specific thing. In fact, I can't seem to function when my life is just one specific thing. It will function for a little bit. I'll be super invested in something, and then all of a sudden it's like my brain kind of forgets that I was doing that, or if I fall off of a routine for like a day, it's really hard for me to like backtrack and get into the zone once again. Whereas what I found to be most helpful was to have a space of my own that's already kind of set up. And when I show up, or when I even just see it from like across the corridor or the room or whatever it is, it's more enticing because it's already kind of set out, it's there, I can just get on with it. And that works for a creative practice so much as any other thing you do, right? It's so much easier to just sit down and do something if you already have it prepared. And a lot of people talk about this, right? For people, for example, that like to, or would prefer to go running, to maintain, like, to keep physically active and fit, their trainers. I've heard of trainers that will tell them to set out their shoes in the morning, have the clothing ready on the side, just like get out of bed and put those on. Don't even like think too much about it and just go. And it's really funny because the easier you make something, the easier you make it, the easier you make engaging with something, the more probable it is that you'll actually engage with it. And naturally, that's just a tip for kind of getting back into a zone, or a flow with any sort of project or undertaking that you do. But more importantly, it's about realizing that we're so valuable. We're so valuable. It's so easy for us to give up and to stop and not contribute to our goals and our future and to others. It's much easier to stay in our little comfort bubble, But if we're able to really grasp the idea that we're not a singular facet, right? That there's so much more to a single person than we let on. If we're able to really embrace that, I think we have a bigger chance of pursuing our goals with a mindset of long term. Because yes, you could have a week where you are so unproductive and you just cannot look at that, whatever it is, the laptop, the stack of the pages, maybe the book that you're trying to read, whatever it is. If you were to allow yourself to kind of get back on a groove more naturally, you might find that it's easier to approach something because there isn't this shameful energy behind it. You won't necessarily come beating your ass trying to do something. Instead, you're embracing the fact that you're getting back onto it. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening this far. I really hope that it was not too atrocious for you. These first, 5 to 7 episodes that I'll be uploading to launch this new podcast. Well, they're kind of like test runs, and hopefully you just get to know a little bit about me, how I think, my experiences in life, and what kind of brought me to the point that I am in now. I'll be starting my master's in entrepreneurship and innovation at Holt University, Holt International Business School, in September, so in just over a month. I've lined up some exceptional guests for you, though, which I'm very excited about, because my network has completely changed and expanded within a matter of a month, which is insane. But yeah, I've lined up five different interviews that will be coming out, or I'll be launching for you to stream in August. And yeah, this is just a little message from your host, Mayada Maya, letting you know that there's a lot more to come and a lot better to come as well. But I needed to put in the reps, you know how it is. It's new. If anything, if you end up watching this after I've already launched, after there's already some interview things, don't even bother. You'll get to know me through the other episodes, the more finessed ones. This is more me just trying to put in the reps, get into the flow of things, understand how it works, and just get more comfortable to speak in front of the camera. Or in front of the mic. I have a camera, but whatever. It's fine. Sweet. Peace and love, and I hope you have a wonderful day, night, afternoon, weekend, week ahead of you. Much love. Ciao, ciao.